We've onboarded and coached more than 100 SDRs for MSPs alone. We've seen the gamut, right? Like we've seen people who have absolutely crushed it. We've seen people that have flopped. And it's interesting because same industry, similar service, very similar types of markets, but wildly different outcomes. We did a deep dive. We wanted to know, what is it that is driving the results? Like the SDR, of course, but are there other factors, like in terms of what the company's doing or how they're setting things up? And we wanted to answer one question. What is it that truly drives results? And in this video, I'm going to share what we found. Let's dive in. So I'm Ray Green, founder of MSP Sales Partners, where we help IT companies build high performance sales teams and systems. And one of the offers that we have in our business is the SDR Accelerator. And this program helps, IT companies find, recruit, train, and then manage and coach SDRs in their business so that they can fill their calendar without having to outsource to a third party or, feel like a full-time sales manager, because most of the people that we work with are technical founders, don't have a sales background. So we help do that and install that function in the business. And by doing that, we've had the opportunity to really understand what the companies are doing, how they're doing it, and then see the results, because we've managed more than 100 SDRs. So we can actually look at this and say, hey, there's some significant patterns, or there's some significant differences in what people who are crushing it are doing and people who are not. I wanted to know, what is it? Because I wanted to build a better program, right? So I wanted to say, what is it specifically that is leading these companies to get phenomenal results, these companies to not get as good a results, and then these companies to kind of sit in the middle? And what I discovered were there are 6 primary levers that are affecting performance of the SDR when you hire and manage a rep in your business. And then there's one amplifier that makes everything easy and turbocharges everything. And this isn't theory, right? This is actionable. Like this is what we are actually seeing, boots on the ground, appointments on calendar, real businesses right now. So here are the 6 things plus the one amplifier that I found make all of the difference here. So if you have these things in place, you all but guarantee that your SDR is going to crush it. And the first one is the data. It's having a good list in place. We have actually seen people that are like, hey, I'm ready to hire an SDR. And we go, okay, excellent. Like, do you have enough lead flow that they're going to be full-time following up on inbound? No. So we're going to be doing some outbound. Yes. What are they going to be calling on? We don't have a list. So we've seen everything from don't have a list to, yes, we've got a list, and it's a list that we have curated, that we have, had validated, that we've, used some enrichment program. We've had somebody scrub it or clean that list, right? And make sure that the information is correct, make sure that it's relatively qualified. It's even segmented, like we can break it down and do these little mini campaigns by industry, something like that. And then we've seen everything in between. And what I can tell you is, if you want your SDR to have excellent results, then you've got to give them an excellent list. If you have them calling on something that's just raw data, right? Like, so you go to a third-party vendor and you say, hey, give me 1,000 companies in this zip code, or 1,000 companies in this area, or in this, whatever, name your criteria. Despite what the vendors tell you, I promise you, it's not 95% accurate, right? Like, so that's just not the case. We see it all the time. So your SDR is going to basically be cleaning that list as they go through and make their calls. Even a good SDR is going to have performance throttled, because they're going to be calling stuff that isn't the right information. They're going to be calling wrong numbers. They're going to be asking for people who are dead. They're going to be like, they're going to be like, oh, okay. So, 20, 30, 40% of the data we've seen a lot of times is just not right if you're getting raw data from a third party. And that obviously is going to affect performance relative to an SDR who gets handed something that has been cleaned, right? Like they've gotten maybe that list from a third party, but they've put it through a list cleaning process. They've, used the enrichment functions within, a lot of softwares. They've used AI to clean that thing up. Or next level is, like I said, segment that list and say, you know what we're going to do? We're going to call lawyers. We're going to call this particular segment or this size of company or whatever that particular niche is going to be for that campaign. And then they can tailor everything else accordingly. Going to have a huge impact on your results. Now, the second thing that you want to have in place is a good offer. No, your SDR is not necessarily asking for money. They aren't closing that deal. But in a consultative sales process, every step is a sale. right? Like you have a series of micro steps that lead to a proposal, that lead to a closed deal. This micro sale that your SDR is making is they are offering something in exchange for time, right? Like there's some value proposition that they are offering in exchange for the prospect, the person that they're talking to, investing their time. The more time that they are asking for, the higher the price tag. Right. So if you call me out of the blue and you say, hey, Ray, like we have XYZ solution. And I go, okay, we need 90 minutes to go through. Shh. Okay. Like that's not going to happen. We need 15 minutes to give you a run through. Okay. Cheaper price. So the threshold is going to be a lot lower if you're asking for a lower price. So that's one way to make your offer better is lower the price. Now, a better way to improve your offer is offer something of more value. Meaning you can call and, out of the blue and say, hey, we solved these 3 problems. Would you like a, price comparison? We need to hop on a call for 15 minutes. And there's some value associated with that. That is an offer. Some really good offers though that I've seen lately are, hey, we'll do some, education with your team on phishing attacks, right? Like we'll help you, avoid the next phishing, scam. Hey, we're going to offer a block of hours to take a look at your network and solve a few of the low hanging fruit, the really pesky issues that you have, and go in and see if we can, basically help you out, offer some value, demonstrate our capabilities, our service, and we've got our foot in the door. Another is doing an AI assessment. Like, hey, we know AI is like all the rage these days, but most companies just aren't sure how to really leverage it and how to use it. So what we're doing is offering a free assessment of your tech stack and your tools today, and your general processes, and we can give you some recommendations on how AI might be something that you can leverage in your business. That's if you're using like AI functions. The point being, you want to offer something of value in exchange for the time. The more value that you offer, and the more value your SDR is able to sell, then the better the conversion rate's going to be. The lower the price, the better the conversion rate's going to be. Now, the third thing that you're going to want to go along with that offer is going to be a good script. And like you can go to GPT and you can say, or Claude or whatever AI tool of Copilot probably, and say, hey, write me a cold call script for my SDR. All right, and you will get something fairly generic. I can tell you after listening to hundreds of scripts, there are good scripts and then there are generic scripts. Now, if you at least have a generic script, you're doing better than not having a script at all, because we've seen that too. So don't make that mistake. But if you're going to go through the trouble of saying, hey, this is the talk track that I want you to use, this is the framework that I want you to use, make it good, right? And what do I mean by good? Do you have something in the first 10 seconds that interrupts somebody's pattern, that gets their attention, that makes them chuckle, that creates some degree of interest, that separates you from the 50 other phone calls that they're potentially going to get throughout the day? One of the biggest challenges that you have is it's a B2B sales process, which means by design, most of them have some form of gatekeeping mechanism that's in place. It's a person that answers the phone that says, no, we're not just going to let everybody through, or it's some form of automation, some system, whatever that is, getting through to the decision maker and then getting the decision maker to give you the time. Those are the toughest asks. A good script is going to take those things into account. It's going to ensure right out of the gates that I've captured your attention and you're going to give me a little bit of more time. We've got plenty of content on that. I can tell you one of the things that we're seeing work really well right now is it's going to have that good hook. Right, it's going to capture attention, make a pattern interrupt. You're going to earn the next 30 to 45 seconds in the first 5, right? The first 5 to 10 seconds, you're going to earn the next 45. So you've got to have something right out of the gates. Then you've got to hit on relevance and differentiation very quickly. Okay, so the best scripts that we're seeing people make is when, and don't say it if it's not true, but there's somebody that only works with law firms. One of the second or third sentences out of their mouth is, we only work with law firms to solve these specific issues. Okay, now you've made this more relevant than almost everybody else that's calling. If that's not you, if you're not in a specific vertical, that's fine. Chances are you have something that makes you unique. If you don't, then you've got to take a step back and say, hey, strategically, what are our unique selling points? We have content on that too. You want to say, hey, how do we make ourselves relevant? How do we differentiate? And then what are the 3 primary pain points that people buy your services for? You want to go back and look at your best customers. Look at the latest sales that you have. What are the things that they're telling you are the most important factors in becoming a customer of yours? right? And be really careful that you're not projecting. I think that security should be the big issue. So we're going to say security. If security is not the reason that people are coming to you, and security is not the reason that people are buying, and security is not the symptom that they are telling you in the sales process is the most important thing, then I wouldn't use it. And no matter how important you know it is, use the things that they think are important, right? So you've got a hook, then in the body, it's like, this is why we're different. Here are the 3 primary pain points that we're solving. Are any of these familiar with you? So you can frame that script in a way that's really relevant, that stands out, that earns a little bit more time. And in my view, like, build some credibility, right? Like now this is relevant. All right. And the offer gets even better. So you want to have a good script in place. Now, the fourth thing that you want, this seems really obvious, but you want a good SDR. All right. There are a lot of companies that say, you know what, we want this SDR role. We want this person to set a ton of appointments. We know that, a client to us or a customer to us is worth a lot of money when we look at the LTV. But what we're going to do on this SDR role is we are going to go as cheap as possible, and we are just going to hire anyone with a pulse. Right? Because as long as they can read this script, they should be fine. If you are looking for script readers, AI is your best option, right? Because at that point, like, you're shopping for low level talent, you're paying bare minimum, you're not going to get consistency, you're not going to get reliability, you're not going to get the execution, and frankly, you're not going to get results. P.S. You aren't with outbound AI calls at this moment either. Right? Unless you are like doing mass volume and you're willing to accept a significant trade-off in like the efficiency of the calls. The same thing is true if you go get anybody with a pulse who can't do this job, who has no experience, who you aren't screening for the right characteristics, who is afraid to be making phone calls, doesn't even want to make phone calls. So you want a good SDR. And here's what I can tell you definitively. The difference between an okay SDR and a phenomenal SDR is not 10%. It is 10x, right? Like, it is massive. If you take the time to screen for the right person, if you take the time to ensure, like, hey, we're going to look for very specific characteristics. We're going to look to make sure that, hey, have you done this job before, or a similar type of job, or is the experience that you have in some way relevant, or are you demonstrating, even if you don't have the experience, are you demonstrating something like within your personality, within your background, within your general work ethic, your hobbies, something that tells me you're going to be good on the phone, not just be willing to make the phone calls. Again, massive difference. Now, the fifth thing that you want to have in place is a really good training plan for that SDR. And I was actually talking to somebody the other day, and they said, well, Ray, I followed your advice. I went and found a good SDR. They had a couple of years of experience. So I didn't think I had to do much in terms of training. Like, I thought, well, they've done the job before. Like, basically, here's a different list and you're off to the races. You're like crossing your fingers if that's the case. Like, even if you hire somebody who has experience, I don't know how they've been trained. I don't know what they've been told. They haven't used my systems. They haven't used my processes. They don't know my company. They don't know my unique selling points. I mean, they know some basic stuff. Even if they've been at another MSP for several years, they might know the industry. They might know some of the terminology, but they don't know my company. And I don't know that they know how to represent my company. I don't know that they know how to pitch this part of the service. Every rep, like, no matter how experienced they are, every rep should walk into your company and have at minimum a 30-day, very detailed checklist, right? Or play-by-play on what the training and onboarding is going to look like. Part of that 30-day plan can be, hey, by X date, week 2, you are making some calls under close supervision. We're going to be coaching. We're going to be giving you some feedback, but we're going to be doing some orientation and some onboarding, and then we're going to give you some general background on the company. Like, here's high level what the offer that you're using is, and then we're going to introduce the script. We're going to do a little bit of role play. Then we're going to get you fired up on the calls. We're going to give you some feedback on the calls, and then along the way you can have there's some sales training, and here's some stuff on objections. And I can tell you this because I've seen it. The difference between the SDR who gets just thrown on the phone, right? Like, hey, welcome to the company. Here's the phone, here's the list, and here's a script. See ya. And the person has something invested in them for 30 days, there's a big difference. in the outcome, not just in terms of the appointments that they set. It's in terms of retention, right? Because we actually have a training program that we built within the accelerator. So we can just give our customers this training program, be like, hey, here's the 30-day checklist. Feel free to customize it to your company. We gave this to somebody. They just recently started implementing it. The SDR told us, they told me this morning, the SDR told us, I have never, this is their fourth or fifth role, I have never started at a company and been given this much support at the onset. Like, this is phenomenal. Now think about that. The impression that this person gets of that company, much higher than, hey, you barely know our name. Start making some calls. The sixth thing, do you have the right management and coaching rhythm in place? This is one where a lot of small, mid-size MSPs kind of fall off because they do the legwork on the front end. They get somebody in the door, they get that flywheel in motion, but they don't do the ongoing coaching, right? They don't do the ongoing management. They aren't running a weekly sales meeting. They aren't consistently reviewing calls. They aren't running a huddle here and there, right? Like, periodically, getting the team to do some drills or do some additional role play, or, let's watch some training videos. Let's do something to keep the sales focus rolling. And without that, even good reps flatline. Because even me, like, I mean, if I'm sitting there, if I'm making calls or I'm running my sales calls for my business or whatever it is, even though I have a process, I wrote the damn process, I will still drift. Right. It's almost natural because we start tinkering with something or we get bored, right? Like, we get tired of saying the same stuff. SDRs especially, because it's a shorter pitch. Within a couple of weeks, they may just get bored of saying the same thing. But the thing is, that script or that talk track was written for a reason. And it's the first time that the other person's going to be hearing it. So when the rep gets bored of it and they start to drift, what they start doing is losing a lot of the best practices that we need them to maintain. How do you keep that in track? Coaching, right? Like, you're listening to calls every week, you're giving feedback. The other thing that you're doing when you're like coaching calls is, as a business owner, it's awesome research and development. Okay. Like, there's no better R&D for your company than listening to the early stages of sales calls. Like, if you're listening to the appointment setting calls and you're listening to the discovery calls, you are getting mountains of information on how to tailor your messaging, right? So as you're coaching, you're also listening and you're learning and you're going, hey, you know what? We should tweak this or we should change this. So it's an opportunity for you to improve the process. So those are the 6 core things. Those are the levers that we've seen. We go, if you have these things in place, right? Like, if you've got a good list, if you've got a good offer, if you've got a good script, if you've got a good SDR, you train them properly and you coach them, damn, it's hard not to succeed, right? Now, the 7th thing is, and it's an amplifier, because we've seen success without it. So it's not absolutely essential, but it is absolutely an amplifier to the effect, and that is good marketing. Good marketing comes in a lot of shapes and forms. Okay. Like, that good marketing can be, sending out, physical, like snail mail, direct mail before you start calling on a campaign, right? Like, I've got this list that I'm going to call, we're going to send them something, physical that maybe captures their attention. The SDR is going to follow up on that thing. That can work. We've seen email, right? Like doing cold email and doing the follow up after that. We've seen social, where you're doing like omni-channel stuff, where you're like hitting them on, LinkedIn and doing something else. So there's not just one form, but when you give the SDR additional resources, like additional ways to essentially like increase the awareness of who you are and to kind of like, hey, saw a post from them consciously or unconsciously, like just recently. So when you integrate marketing into the SDR strategy, what you're going to see is multiples more on the same outcome. Right? Like, you're going to look at the performance of a particular list, for example, and you're going to say, hey, you know what? We averaged, call it 4 calls per record on this particular campaign with marketing and without marketing. With marketing, you're going to see a better return. And it's a really solid way of improving conversion on all the effort and the investment and everything else that you're making in the SDR. So I'm sharing this because when I'm talking to business owners, I'm talking to MSPs, and they tell me, well, SDRs just didn't work for us, or I've got an SDR who isn't doing well right now. And we assume that is because either that individual SDR isn't good, or because there's something about your market or something about your business or something about, you, like, snowflake type of deal. Like, it doesn't work for you. And it's not the case, right? It's the system. And every time that I've gone through a situation where, it's like the SDR didn't work, right? Or the SDR isn't performing, and you go through this. Okay. All right. What are they calling on? Well, just raw data that we downloaded. Okay. Cool. What are they pitching? Well, an hour with me, the CEO. And okay, is there anything? Okay, no, just an hour. Okay. Got it. And what's the script that they're using? Well, they don't have like one way of doing it. Depends on what we're calling. Okay. Got it. Where'd you get the SDR? Like what's, did they have experience? Like all that. How did you train them? Cool. How often are you coaching them? Okay. Are you giving them any marketing? And you go through and you go, hey, you know what? I have yet to have somebody nail all 6 or 7 of these things and say, holy shit, we're not crushing it. That doesn't happen because it's a proven system, right? And I've got plenty of data to back that up. It's not necessarily about effort. It's about environment. And by the way, this isn't true of just of SDRs. This is true of anyone you hire in sales, is that the environment that you bring them into, the system that you bring them into is going to have as big, if not a bigger impact on their ability to get you results and get you the ROI that you're looking for than the raw talent that they're bringing themselves or the work ethic that they're bringing themselves. Although those things matter. This becomes our roadmap in the SDR Accelerator. What we're effectively doing is when I'm looking at a whiteboard, this is exactly what we're doing to help with list building and list cleaning. This is exactly what we're doing to help with the offer creation. We are rewriting the scripts. We've already created, like I was mentioning, a full, like point by point, like day by day on the first week. This is exactly what to do. These are the videos to watch. And we created the videos for them. Like, hey, this is the importance of the role of the SDR. This is why KPIs matter. This is how to handle objections. This is, basically what an offer is and how to think about your offer. And, so we've got all of these things like completely ironed out and we're just installing them into the program. That's how strongly I feel about these factors. And I say that so that, hey, you know what? Like, even if you want to do this on your own, these are the things. I'm putting my money where my mouth is on the program, and we're investing into adding all of these things into the program because I'm that sure that's what it takes to get results. So I hope this has been helpful. If it has, subscribe to the channel, and feel free to check out the SDR Accelerator. There's a link below. Or if you just want some more free stuff, you can get lifetime access to the MSP Sales Toolbox, which is a place where we put resources in every month. Checklists, we put in, templates and playbooks, objection handling playbooks, not just for SDRs, like for every part of the sales process that we're doing. So you can grab access to that at mspsalestoolbox.com. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Adios.